The sound of the loom echoed through the courtyard like a steady heartbeat tap. Tap, pull thread drawn tight beneath Hua Mulan's careful hands. Dawn mist still clung to the mulberry trees, and the wind carried the scent of wet earth and pine resin from the hills beyond the village. Each breath of morning felt like a promise, though Mulan could not name to whom it was made. Her reflection flickered in the bronze basin beside her, dark eyes thoughtful, hair bound simply at the nape of her neck. She was neither the most beautiful, nor the most graceful of the village girls, and she did not try to be. Her mother often sighed at this, though never unkindly. "A woman's life," her mother would say, "is made of patience." Mulan believed patience was a blade sharp only if honed. From the outer road came the thunder of hooves and the clang of metal. The village stirred. Men dropped tools. Women gathered children. The imperial courier arrived in a cloud of dust, unfurled a scroll stamped with vermilion wax, and read aloud the decree that would change the course of Mulan's life. Each household must provide one man to serve in the army. Mulan's father, Hua Hu, stepped forward with the others. He was a veteran of earlier wars, a man whose spine bore the memory of old wounds. His knees trembled as he bowed, and Mulan felt something in her chest pull taut as the loom thread. That night, as the stars sharpened in the winter sky, Mulan listened to her father cough in the next room and understood that duty, like the wind, did not ask permission. It only asked direction. The household slept, but Mulan remained awake. She set the loom aside and moved through the dark with care, as if the night itself were listening. Her father's sword rested above the hearth, its lacquered scabbard dull, with age its edge untested for many seasons. She drew it halfway, just enough to hear the whisper of steel. The village elders would not release her father. The law was clear. Compassion was not its language. Mulan sat beside the basin and studied her face again. She imagined it leaner, hair-cropped, posture squared by discipline rather than custom. She imagined silence where fear might speak at. Dawn she would leave. She knelt before her parents' door, pressed her forehead to the floor, and whispered a vow not to the ancestors alone, but to herself. She would return with honor or not return at all. Before the rooster's call. Mulan bound her chest, cut her hair, and dressed in her father's armor. It fit poorly at first, heavy as the decision itself, but she tightened straps until it obeyed. Her will. She took the horse from the stable, paused at the gate, and looked once more at the house that had shaped her. Then she rode into the waking world. The army camp sprawled along the riverbank. Like a city of canvas and smoke, recruits arrived. In knots farmhands with callous palms, hunters with quick eyes, sons carrying the weight of expectation. Mulan joined them, head down, voice low. She learned the new name quickly and let the old one fold into memory. Training broke them and remade them. They learned to march until their feet forgot pain, to lift shields until arms burned, to strike in unison so that many became one. Mulan failed often at first. She was smaller than most, her grip less certain. But she learned faster. She watched how the veterans shifted their weight, how they breathed before a blow. She practiced at night alone, tracing forms in the moonlight. Captain noticed her not for strength, but for resolve. "You," he said once after Mulan rose yet again from the dust. "Why do you stand?" Mulan did not answer with words. She stood because standing was the only way forward. Time braided strangers into brothers. Mulan shared rations, laughter, and blisters with men who knew her only as another soldier. There was the ox-shouldered blacksmith's son who sang off-key to keep spirits high, and the quiet scholar who learned the bow as if it were calligraphy. They trusted her with their backs. She trusted them with her life, yet secrecy demanded vigilance. Mulan bathed apart, changed in shadows, slept light as a deer. Fear became a companion, never loud, always present. Still, courage grew where fear was acknowledged and mastered. One night, under a canopy of stars, the scholar spoke of home. "When this is done," he said, "I will plant apricot trees." Others added their dreams. When they turned to Mulan, she smiled and said nothing. Her dream was a road leading back. The enemy came at dawn, a dark tide against frost-white fields. Orders cracked like thunder. The world narrowed to sound and motion, the scream of arrows, the clash of shields, the metallic breath of blades. Mulan. Fought as she had trained, each movement a sentence in a language learned the hard way. She did not think of victory or death, only of the next step, the next strike. When her arm shook, she adjusted her stance. When fear surged, she let it sharpen her focus. Afterward, the field lay still, and the cost of survival was counted in silence. Mulan washed blood from her hands in the river and watched it thin to pink. She felt older, and not by years. Winter hardened the roads. The army moved north, through passes where the wind howled like a living thing. Rations thinned. Men argued, then learned to conserve words as carefully as food. Mulan learned leadership without title. She set a steady pace, shared what little she had, listened more than she spoke. When tempers flared, she cooled them. When spirits sank, she found reasons to rise. The captain began to rely on her judgment. "You see the field," he said once. Mulan bowed, hiding the tremor of pride. In a skirmish near a frozen ravine, Mulan took a blade meant for another. Pain flared white-hot, then dulled. She fought until the world tilted and darkness closed like a door. She woke in a tent, the smell of herbs thick in the air. The healer's eyes widened, words stumbled. The truth, long guarded, stood exposed. The law was clear, the camp fell quiet. The captain dismissed the others and faced her alone. "Why?" he asked. Mulan met his gaze. "Because my father could not." He looked at the bandages, at the sword by her side, at the field beyond the tent where men prepared to march again. After a long moment, he said, "Heal, then go. If you return by your own merit." She bowed lower than she ever had. Mulan left the camp at dusk. Snow whispered beneath her boots. Each step away felt heavier than armor. She had saved lives. She had broken the law. Which weighed more? She traveled alone, listening to the land. The mountains taught patience. The rivers taught persistence. When she learned of the enemy's plan, an ambush aimed at the heart of the realm, she understood that honor did not always wear permission like a badge. She turned back. The city gates loomed, iron-bound and proud. Guards barred her path, skeptical of a lone soldier bearing ill news. Mulan spoke calmly, clearly, laying out what she had seen, where the enemy would strike. Doubt met her words like stone. Proof was demanded. Time slipped like sand. Then the captain arrived, bearing scars and urgency. He listened. He believed. Preparations began at once. The enemy struck as predicted and found the city ready. Mulan fought beside her former brothers. No longer hidden, no longer silent. She led a maneuver through narrow streets and over rooftops, turning familiarity into advantage. When the dust settled, the city stood. Before the assembled court, Mulan knelt. Titles were offered, rewards named. She accepted neither with hunger nor disdain. "I wish to go home," she said simply. The ruler nodded. "You have brought honor to your family and to the realm." Mulan bowed, the weight in her chest finally easing. The village appeared as it always had, modest, enduring. Her parents stood at the gate, older than when she left, eyes bright with disbelief and joy. Mulan removed her armor, set the sword above the hearth, and returned to the loom. The sound was the same tap, pull, but the thread felt stronger in her hands. Years later, travelers would sing of a daughter who took her father's place, who learned war and chose peace, who showed that courage wears many faces. Mulan listened to those songs with a small smile and went on living, patient as a blade, sharp as the wind.